Hey, welcome to another episode of the Go With John show. Today, I'm very excited to have Mauricio Trigo with us. Welcome, Mauricio.
Oh, thank you so much for having me here in your show.
Thank you for coming in. So, Mauricio, you've got a great story, and I'm so excited to have you come in and tell it today. But before we get into your story and how you got here and how you got into the business, tell us a little bit about what you do. What is your business?
Okay, great. So I'm the CEO of Infinity Limo Car. Mm-hmm. And here in Washington, D.C., we provide corporate car services for executives, movie stars, anyone in the entertainment business. Basically, any needs for ground transportation, we can fulfill it with our business.
Right. And what is your service area mainly? You said DC, but do you go outside of DC, Virginia, Maryland?
Yes, our area of work is basically all the Washington metropolitan area, including Baltimore as well.
Okay.
And for the right price, we can go anywhere you want.
Yeah, that's what we say at Stanley Martin. We can build anything you want to pay for. So it makes perfect sense. So so tell me about let's hear your story. Let me just let you tell it. So where were you born?
I was born in Cochabamba, Bolivia.
Okay.
And that's right in the center of South America, right, the heart of South America.
Yeah, there's some interesting things going on there, which we will not talk about today. So how old were you when you came to the United States?
I was 20 years old.
And how did you get here?
So I got the opportunity presented to me by one of the family members that was in the country, before me.
Right.
And she actually visited to back home in Bolivia. And at that point, I was back home, I have too many friends.
Right.
And I was realizing that I needed to have a change in my life.
You need a change of scenery.
Yeah, and it wasn't necessarily, I'm thankful enough that I have a financial situation from my household that I was in a good level where, I wasn't rich, but I wasn't poor.
Right.
And, but I just really needed to change, and I was 20 years old and I didn't know what to do with my life at that time. And
right.
I was not doing really good in college. And so I just was kind of confused of what I was going to do with my life. And then this family member came to Bolivia to visit. And out of the blue, I just asked her, hey, will you be able to sponsor me? And I just want to go there and give it a try.
Yeah.
So at that point, that person already has, her family already had like a business here in the DC area. So they were able to sponsor me as a student and a part-time worker.
Okay.
So they, we did all the paperwork over there. And so I came and when I came to United States and I was able to go to school, right? Within 2 weeks, I arrived here.
Mm-hmm. Which school did you go to?
Well, I went to ESL school first, English as a second language.
Sure.
My English was pretty much zero.
Right.
And so from there, I studied English as a second language in that, it's like a language institute.
Right.
And then from there, I went to Nova.
Yeah.
And then I did, I completed my ESL over there, and then I continued to business administration there.
Nice. So did you get a degree, or did you just take some classes?
I just took some classes.
Yeah. That's what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which campus were you at? Annandale?
Annandale.
Yeah,
exactly.
Me too. Yeah,
there you go.
Back in the day, I was there way before you, though. So
maybe there was only one building before there.
I think so. Yeah, it was. I went for a very, very, very short period of time, 1 or 2 quarters. So it didn't go long, but. So all right. So you get over here, you learn how to. Great. So you did everything legit, right? You got sponsored. Yes. You got over here. You learned how to speak English. You got some experience working. So then what happened?
When I moved here and I started the school, I was presented opportunity to work as a part-time in a limousine company. Mm-hmm. And obviously at that time, within a month of me being here, the only job that I was be able to apply for was to clean the cars.
Right.
So my job was to go to school in the morning, actually to take care of the chores at the house that I was being sponsored, go to school, and then right after school, go back to the company, to the base, and clean all the cars. So that was my job. Every day for about a year and a half. So during that time, the person who owned the company over there gave me opportunity to learn the business a little bit, and he gave me a car and he told me, okay, you can go drive. I'm gonna give you some of the addresses of the clients and go and drive and get lost.
Right.
And find your way.
Yep.
You're gonna practice from point A to the airport and from airport to point B, whatever.
Yeah.
So while I was doing all that, so I was going to school, I was cleaning the cars, and I was practicing. And so then once I had enough time on my driver license that the insurance approved me to start driving for some of the company cars, I started driving some shuttles from Pentagon to Arlington for office work.
Right.
So then my day was start in the morning at 4:30, go and pick up the car from the base and do the shuttles for the rush hour in the morning, go to school, come back, do the shuttle for the rush hour in the afternoon, go back to the base and clean up the limos. So that was my day.
Wow.
For quite a while.
Yeah.
So
when you say quite a while, how many years did you do that?
I think that was probably another 2 years.
Wow.
That I was doing that, and that at that time.
And you were happy.
I was happy. I was working very hard.
Yeah.
But I kind of find a way to have a focus in my life. So my focus was, okay, I don't want to be driving the shuttle every day for the rest of my life.
Right. You want to get to the next level.
I want to go to the next level.
Yeah.
So at that point, I was already enrolled into Nova, and I was taking the classes. My English was getting better. One of the greatest things that I have, and it's a blessing for me as an immigrant, is that whatever I was learning in school, I was able to practice because my whole surrounding was people that only were speaking English.
Right.
So many times I would learn something in the morning, and then I'll go and try to apply it right away. So that helped me a lot to learn. And there's some opportunities that many people don't have. Right. Sometimes you come and then a lot of my peers will go and work in construction, which is, by the way, it's a great thing to do too. Construction, but you don't get to, depending on who you're surrounded by, you don't get to learn the language because you're comfortable with, either Spanish or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that was something that I learned a lot, and it helped me a lot to grow. So during the time I went through college and I got the classes that I wanted to get, my boss at the limo company realized that I have some potential. So he brought me to the office and he said, okay, you're going to learn some of the office work. Now that your English is getting better, I don't feel you comfortable to answer the phone yet, but you can do some of the office work. So for a good period of time, I would still have to wash the limos, but then I would come to the office. I didn't drive the shuttles anymore. I come to the office, and my job was to take care of all the credit card charges. Back in the time, we didn't have all the softwares or anything, so it was the credit card slips that you get in the car or you get at the restaurant. So then at the end of the day, the drivers bring all the slips, and then someone has to process it manually. That was my day. Processing credit cards, 8 hours a day.
So now, is this company that you were working for, are they still in business?
They're still in business.
They're still in business. Is it still the same owner?
Yes, it's still the same.
Are you friends with him still?
Yeah, we are. We are. But at some point, I decided to go on my own.
Of course. So when was that? When did you start?
So, throughout the 10 years that I worked for them, from basically 2000 to 2010.
Yes.
I went from, cleaning the cars and driving the shuttle, driving some of the cars, doing billing. And I went all the way up to general manager in the company. So I was hiring people. I have about 40 drivers that were under my management. Right. And I have about 10, 15 people in the office. Wow. So so the last year, 2010, I was a general manager. And then from there, they came to a point where I just realized that I was putting a lot of my time and my hours in this business, which it helped me a lot, obviously,
Sure.
from the very beginning, right?
Sure.
But at this point, I already have a family. I have a wife. I have 2 kids. And I was putting 16, 18 hours a day, you know. And my phone was up the hook, you know, dealing with a lot of stuff. And I realized that I was not going to be able to go anywhere else, you know, to grow more from here, from that point. And truly, the drivers or the chauffeurs were making more money than me.
Right.
Because
Right.
these are the people who are generating money directly into the company.
Sure,
Right?
sure.
So you do 10 jobs, then there's going to be a billing for 10 jobs, and then
Right.
you bring the money, then you get a percentage of that. Right.
Right. Right.
So I said, okay, I can't do this anymore. 18 hours a day, but it's the nature of the business. But
Right.
I was getting paid a salary, and that was it. So one day I decided to talk to my boss, and I said, listen, I'm very sorry, but I have to leave. You know, I feel that I need to do something else with my life. At that point, I was thinking maybe I was going to do something else. And I decided to tell him that. And he said, well, I'll give you a month. You decide. You have 1 month to decide what you're going to do. During that time, I reached out to other people, and I ended up going to a company who was a bigger company than this one. And I was trying to see if they have any work at the office. And so when I spoke to the general manager of the company, he told me, Mauricio, I'm very excited that you come here, and I would love to have you. But my problem is if I hire you and come in the office, I'm going to have to quit. Because what you know, your knowledge will bring you as a general manager. And I cannot put you as a reservations agent or as a dispatcher because you know more than that.
Right.
And you wouldn't make the money that you need to make. And I said, I don't want to be in the office. I want to drive.
Yeah.
And so he was very surprised because he knew where I was coming from. So he said, well, if you decide to do so, then we'll do it. So I got all my paperwork done, and I started driving for them. So I went from being a manager of a lot of drivers, 30, 40 drivers at one point, to be a driver.
Yes.
Right? So everyone was thinking, are you making the right decision? And I felt really good because I kind of felt that I was kind of free because I was on the road, I was outside.
You're captain of your own ship.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
and this company had a different level of clients. So in the other company, I was dealing with, some executives, but mostly we were dealing with proms and weddings and all that stuff, which is good. It makes money, but the level of clients that you have are different to what I was going to come in this company. And when I started with them, I started meeting movie stars. I started moving, people from Hollywood all the time, CEOs, presidents of big organizations,
right?
That I was having this direct contact. So although in those 10 years of experience I have in the other company, I have a lot of experience, but I really never had like this direct contact with customers. When I was in the other company, I would get into the office and I was kind of like the king of the company, right?
Right.
That's how I felt.
Right.
Everyone would say, hey, Mr. Mauricio, hey, Mr. Mauricio.
Yeah.
But I never really picked up the phones and talked to customers because I was on the operation side.
Right.
So this kind of opened my mind to understand more about the business. And I also understood that, when you come to this country, you have to kind of bring your culture, you have your culture, but you also have to learn the culture of this country. Right. And I learned a lot about that because then I said, okay, I need to go and watch some football games. I need to go and listen to the news more. I need to talk about hockey. I need to talk about basketball. I need to talk about politics.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is to read, to listen to the news and everything. So that brought me to a different level in this country.
Right.
Because before I was just in this little world of a limo business.
Yeah.
And then I came out over here and I understood that there was more than that.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to have a decent conversation with the president of AOL at that time, I needed to know more than, limo business, right? Because he doesn't care about that. He might care about how was the football game yesterday or stuff like that, right?
You can't lose with sports.
Exactly.
Well, actually, you can, but
well, if you keep it diplomatic, then you
If you get too excited about a team they don't like, that could be a problem.
Exactly. So that's how I really grew in this business, is because I understood that the limo business was not just about operations; it's about the relationships that you have with people. So
but let me jump in for a second, because what you just said, I think, great story, and I'm glad we've gotten this far in it. But you just really touched on something really important, and that is, if you want to be in business, and I do the same thing. I watch the news, and in fact, I tell my team, Nick is here with us, our engineer. I watch all the news channels because I want to hear what all the perspectives of the different channels are, because you never know who you're going to run into in that day, and what perspective they may be going through life with, right? So, watching the news channels and the sports and staying on top of that, I think that's probably one of the key elements to my success when I was a younger businessman, right? And probably same for you, because it gives you the ability to talk to anybody.
Yes.
And if you're driving and you have customers in the car, you're in the relationship business. If you're in sales, you're in the relationship business. If you're in the real estate industry, it's relationships. If you're a business owner, it's the relationships with your team members, your staff, and your customers. So that was a really smart thing to do.
Yeah, it's something that I didn't plan to do it, but I learned organically. How because I felt uncomfortable. So sometimes in the beginning, I will then be able to answer a question. How was the football game yesterday? Or what about this? Or what about that? Right? And during this time, when I worked with this company, I got involved with a lot of people from the news industry, from 2 or 3 different networks, and some of the networks were from the right, some of the networks from the left,
right.
And so I made sure to be professional, regardless what are my political,
colors. Whatever your political colors are.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that.
Sure.
So that's something that I learned also how to handle, because at one point we need to understand that we have to be very neutral when
absolutely.
And one of the things is that people sometimes don't realize, when someone gets in the car, right? When a customer gets in the car, that is the most private time they might have during the day.
Right.
I mean, I can throw some names just because my name was publicly on Twitter or Facebook. But for example, I have Harrison Ford in my car, right? So he goes from the plane to an event. The event is crazy. Everyone was trying to take pictures with him or try to talk to him. Then paparazzis are following him, and then he gets in the car. That is the most private time that he has. And I'm the one who is managing that travel, that private time.
Yes.
So I have to be very wise on how he will feel comfortable during that time. Maybe from a ride from an event to the hotel, right? So sometimes the best thing you can do is to be quiet. And sometimes, yes, there might be a conversation, but that conversation has to be very pleasant.
Right.
So you need to learn how to manage that. Yeah. So something that I learned, little by little with experience. And as I said again, learning more about the culture of this country and the sports and news, everything that helped me to manage that. So, and that's how I was able to build a relationship with a lot of these high profile, executives or high profile entertainment, people that come to DC, which is not as often as is in California, right? It's not like, they come every day, but they do come pretty often as well.
Pretty amazing. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back on the other side, I want to hear about your story and how you started your business, and we'll talk more about that right after this quick break. A lot of folks think that building a custom home is a complicated and arduous process. It doesn't have to be. At Stanley Martin Custom Homes, we have the process down to a science. We will bring you through the buying, design, and building phase one step at a time. Head on over to webuildonyourlot.com and check us out. Reach out to us if you want to get started on the path to your very own Stanley Martin custom home. Welcome back. We are still here with Mauricio Trigo. And so glad you came in, Mauricio. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
So Mauricio, how did you finally get to the point where you wanted to start your own business?
So at this point, it's about 4 years that I've been driving for this company.
Right.
And again, this is a really, really big company that has branches in some of the major cities in the country. And I was very successful in this company. At one point, within probably 3 months of me joining them, I was the top driver.
Wow.
And I was getting requests from customers all the time, and very high profile customers. And so my days were always busy. There was no days that I was I didn't have anything to do. And every time it was always exciting experiences that I have, going to places that no civilians can just go on there. So going to the White House was a normal thing for me. Once in a while, once a month or twice a month. Going to Pentagon, government buildings, going behind the venues of concerts and stuff like that. It was just a normal day for me. So it was at that point, about, as I said, 4 years after, I realized that I was the highest paid driver on the company. My rate was pretty good. I couldn't ask for more. And I was making good money, but I knew that the only way I could make more money is if the day had more hours.
Right.
So at that point, I realized, okay, I'm doing really good. I'm comfortable, but I have to go to a different level. So at that point, I did some research, and obviously I already have the experience with working as a manager in the other company. I started doing some research and preparing to start my company. So I reached out to my boss and I said, listen, everything is great, but I explained him exactly that. And I said, I need to go to a different level.
Yeah.
He was very disappointed.
Yeah.
And he asked me, the only thing I ask you, I cannot hold you here. The only thing I ask you is, don't give me 2 weeks. Give me 2 months. And at that point, obviously, I already have everything ready, because I was not going to just leave without being ready, right?
Sure.
So I have all the paperwork ready for the company. I even purchased a brand new vehicle, which was very expensive for me because it was my first one. And I could have said, no, it's too much, but I decided to keep my word and go for it. So I literally have my brand new Suburban sitting in the office for 2 months while I was driving their car.
Wow.
So at the end of the 2 months, I came to him. I said, listen, I gave you my word. 2 months passed. These are the keys. This is my paperwork for the resignation. And I really want to thank you for everything. And as I was walking out of the office, he's like, Mauricio, I want to ask you a question. Would you be willing to be a subcontractor for us? Because it doesn't make sense for me to subcontract the extra work that we have to some other companies.
Right.
If everyone knows you already.
Right.
So the day that I quit and I started my own business, I have already my first customer.
Amazing. Isn't that wonderful?
Oh, it was a blessing, because at that point, because I was so busy, working, I didn't have any time to reach out any customers or anything like that. And obviously I couldn't reach out the customers that I knew there.
Yeah,
I had to find a completely different
Sure.
base of customers. So the day I left the company, I already have a really big corporate account.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, I worked for, about 2 years driving on my own, God knows how many times I slept in the car, work until 11, 12 in the morning, and then have my first pickup at 4 in the morning, try to fulfill every ride I could.
Yeah.
And after 2 years, I was able to buy another vehicle.
Yeah.
And I was fulfilling, most of the time I was fulfilling the work from this other company. But
you never really got to quit.
Exactly. I was just getting paid more.
Yeah.
But at that point, I have a second chauffeur with me.
Yeah.
And so I have a Suburban, I have a Cadillac XTS.
Yeah.
And but I started having my own customers as well, from other places. I started doing some advertisement, working on my SEO on my website. But my website was pretty new, and just getting some leads here and there. And then I got to buy another vehicle. So we were 3, and the 2 guys that were working with me were, superior. We were just, they were working as it was their own company as well. And so that's how we started growing. But when it really reached the point of my company really becoming a real company, not just a guy with 2 cars.
Right. I understand.
Is in 2018, where I got a call from the same company who was giving me the work. So I was back at home getting ready for do camping with my kids.
Yeah.
And I got a call around 7, 8 in the evening from the manager of the company who was giving me the work. And they're like, Mauricio, I have some news for you. The company is going to close doors in Washington, D.C. And at that point, my heart just sank because I was still getting at least 75 or 80% of the business from them. And so I sat and my face, according to my wife, just changed completely. And then I get the second part of the news, which was we're closing the office. We're closing all, we're going to close. We're going to sell all the cars, and all the operations going to go back to our main headquarters in LA. But we need someone to take care of our clients locally here. Will you be able to come out with enough fleet and enough people to handle the business here? So it went from thinking that I was going to lose the whole business to actually getting the whole business of Washington, D.C. for me.
Right.
So I had to come out in 3 weeks or 4 weeks. I had to come out with enough fleet and enough people in the office to make it happen. Mind you, at this point, I didn't have anyone answering phones or anything in an office, so I didn't have any office. So I thought that night what to do, and early morning, I decided to make a call to one of my competitors. And this person was also he also have a medium company like mine, a small company actually. And he was kind of doing the same. He was taking, some of the extra work that they had, right? And I told him, listen, I'm pretty sure you got the same call. And rather than us competing how we're going to do this, why don't we just get together and do this in a formal way?
Did he get the same call?
He got the same call. Because they knew I was not going to be able to handle it.
Yeah, I got you.
So, but, that's part of the sneaky part of doing business.
Sure.
You're never going to tell that to each other. But I knew, it was by my experience, right? So we got together and we decided to join forces. And so at that point, within 6 weeks, we leased our office. We found 3 people to answer the phones. We trained them in that time. And between him and myself, we end up getting 8 vehicles.
Wow.
And so that's where we really became a real company.
Nice. So what's the name of your company?
The name of our company now is Infinity Limo Car.
Yes, and you said that at the beginning.
Yes, correct.
Amazing. Incredible.
So from there, things went up. We started servicing the full clientele of this big account. And at that point, it was about 90% of the business. 5% was coming from some of the clients I procured, and 5% was from my partner's side. But 90% is too much.
Yes. Oh, I agree. Yeah.
And it's just, in our business, we said that you're as good as your last ride.
Yes.
So no matter if you have thousands of perfect rides, but if you get one job that for some reason your chauffeur gets late, or the reservation was entered improperly in the system and it was supposed to be AM, but we put it as PM.
Right.
We can lose the whole thing.
Sure.
So that's where we started working hard on getting our own customers.
Yeah.
And so 2018 was still like preparing, ourselves with this account that we have. But 2019, we started really working on marketing, pushing the SEO. And myself, I started going to many places to introduce myself. And then COVID came.
Yes.
So I remember the last big meeting we have in a trade show in Las Vegas. Back, it was February 2020.
Right.
We killed it. Like, we knew we had so many good contacts and people were very happy, very excited about our story, and how we came to the business, and they knew the quality of customer service that we were providing. And I remember going back to Las Vegas. I mean, from Las Vegas to back to DC, we were just so happy with my business partner.
Yeah.
And we were like, this is gonna be our year.
Yeah.
And as soon as we landed, because it was it was beginning of March. It was
March 19th, 2020. We still have the date written on our wall.
For us, for us, we have that's 13th.
Yeah.
And so within 2 or 3 days of our arrival, where we have so many plans, we decided we're gonna buy these vehicles. During the trade show, we even reserve, bigger vehicles for our fleet and everything. Right. After we have decided to buy some more vehicles during the trade show, the cancellation started coming. And every phone call or email that we were receiving was just cancellation. So at some point, we probably have 1 or 2 rides a day. And, the things started getting worse. And at that point, unfortunately, as some of the guys have to leave. And, thankfully at that time, they have the help from the government. So it wasn't so tough on us to do. And, we worked as any other companies with, with the things that government was offering, but it wasn't enough.
Right.
And at that point, we decided that we might have to close the company. And we started doing, myself on one side and my business partner on the other side. We started kind of doing some other stuff just to survive.
Right.
And I started working in, I found a job in construction. I was just going and helping a guy who, has a small company. I started going and just picking up the trash. Then he introduced me to an electrician who had a business of generators. So he told me, okay, you can go and work with him because he has more business. So I went there as a helper, and then I realized that when you're an electrician, it's not just messing with the wires and putting stuff like that. You have to dig trenches, and get dirty, go under the houses, and obviously I was the one who was supposed to do that because my boss was not gonna go under the crawl spaces. So I worked very, very, very hard, and my life changed completely.
Yeah.
And for 2020 and half of 2021, that's what I was doing.
18 months.
And what I did, and also my business partner did, is that we decided that we were going to try to put as much money as we can to keep the company alive. And one of the things we did is we put ridiculous amount of money into SEO and advertisement. We said, a lot of people are going to quit. And we're not quitters. So we need to be ready when the business comes back. We need to have people knowing who we are.
Yes.
So as I said, we invested a lot of money and that we were not even generating. I was generating that money by digging trenches in Shenandoah Valley.
Sure.
And that gentleman also had a solar panel business. So I was on top of roofs,
You were
installing
over and
panels.
under houses.
I was doing everything, which I actually loved it a lot. Anyways,
Yeah.
but we did that a lot. The 18 months that I worked there, I can say probably more than half of what I was making, I was putting it back to the company,
Right.
and paying the rent, office rent, and for some time we have some help with the with the payment of the vehicles, but then at one point, we still have to pay them. So
Yeah.
the cars were sitting in the office. I mean, it was so depressing. At one point, we were so worried that so many cars were sitting in the parking lot of the office that I brought all the cars to my house.
Right.
And just because
And how many cars was that?
at that point we have 8 cars.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so we went through this, and back in June 2021, the business started picking up again.
Yep.
And we started getting all these calls that we were hoping from people that were looking for ground transportation that didn't really trust on Uber or Lyft.
Right.
Because the sanitary conditions, right?
Sure.
So during the time that we were out and working on different things, we were focusing on trying to show the people that we care about sanitary conditions of the vehicles, cleaning up, and all the COVID protocols that were given at that time. So we were creating content. We were creating videos of how we were sanitizing the vehicles, and so then when people call, we can tell them what we're doing, and we were actually applying those as well. So during those 18 months, we were prepared for this moment, which was people started traveling again.
Yes.
So our web business just grew like crazy. So it went from like what we were doing 90 and 10%.
Yeah.
Now it was just the opposite. We were doing 90% web and 10% of the corporate business that we were getting from this specific account.
Right.
And that helped us so much with cash flow, because we were charging the credit cards, and we started building relationships with people, because many people will call, like a secretary or admin will call company A to book the corporate travel for the boss, and then realize that the company is closed or no one is answering the phone.
Yeah.
And so we were able to fulfill that. And one of the things, yes, a lot of the chauffeurs have to, they left, but we kept a good group of people in the office. So our answering times on emails were less than 5 minutes.
That's wonderful.
And we will never put people on hold, stuff like that. So that's how people getting to trust us.
Yeah.
So we started building relationship with people that were calling for a one-time ride, to say, oh, you guys are good. I'm going to call you next time, and maybe we're going to open a corporate account.
Yeah.
So we started building corporate accounts based on just web calls.
Amazing.
And then it really started building the confidence again. And at one point, we got an account from a very, very, very high-profile person that I could never imagine that I was going to be in touch with this person. So obviously I decided to take this on my own and take care of this individual by myself.
Sure.
So when this happened, this person had relationships with the highest level of corporate and government people that you can imagine. And I was there. I was driving for this individual, and in a very little time, we developed a trust relationship. And this individual decided, this individual realized that I'm a trustworthy person, right? So at some point they will introduce me to these individuals that were visiting or doing business with.
Right.
So I expanded my customer base just based on me driving for this individual.
Amazing.
And I cannot tell you how high level of government and corporate these people are.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, I would never imagine in my life to be, talking to these people.
Right.
And it built up my self-confidence that I can talk to these people like normal people, right? And that's how I was able to reach out to the admins, to the secretaries,
right?
And that's how we started building relationships with these other bigger companies.
Yeah.
And this is just based on one individual that I started driving.
Yeah.
So, and till now, I always make a point to be the chauffeur for that individual.
Wonderful.
And just because all the experiences I get. So that's how we went from COVID to where we are now.
Amazing. So how many cars do you have now?
So right now we have 18 vehicles.
Amazing.
And not only that, we have more than double of what we had before, but we changed our strategies, and now we are on a high-profile, high-end vehicles. So right now we have Cadillac Escalades, we have Lincoln Navigators, we have Mercedes S-Class, and Sprinters. So everything is high class, and obviously we can charge more.
Sure.
And so that's where we are now.
That is an incredible story. So Mauricio, tell me, where in Bolivia did you come from?
I came from a town called Cochabamba.
Cochabamba, and then when you came to the U.S., you came to Washington, D.C., and you are living the American dream.
I am. I'm definitely am. I think that I experienced everything of the American dream, which is, work very hard for your dreams and achieve them. Yeah. Succeed, but also fail.
Yes.
And able to build my company again from zero back to where we are now.
And I think really you beat me to the punch, and I didn't want to interrupt your story, but when you were speaking about leaving your company to go start your own company, and the manager asked you to continue to drive for him, that was because you had integrity and you were honest. He would not have wanted you to continue to service his clients with you as a competitor if you didn't have honesty and integrity as part of your core values. So, and I think it's the same with the last story you just told about the government official that has made a lot of introductions for you. He could sense that you were an honest person, and he trusted you. I don't know if it was a he or a she. I'm making an assumption, but the stories that you've told. I mean, you went to school, you learned how to speak English, you went to work, you learned how to wash the cars, you learned how to process the credit card statements, you worked in the industry, you learned everything about the industry inside and out and upside and down. You had a mentor in your first company that you worked for that was willing to let you drive a car so you could learn how to start driving around. And you had a very intelligent mentor who said, hey, learn how to drive from the airport to here and here to the airport. And it's you were in the right place. You had the right people around you, but you did the work. And the hardest thing that you had to do, and it's funny, our team, we just had a meeting on Monday. I had to survive, in business, the aftermath of 9/11, and we're going through challenges right now in the real estate industry, and you went through some really difficult challenges when COVID hit. But it makes you stronger, it makes you better, and you're here, and probably many of your competitors went out of business. So when you had the fortitude and the wherewithal to fight your way through it and to go out and dig ditches and get up on roofs and put solar panels on to pay your bills to keep your business alive, it paid off.
Yes. Yeah. I believe it did. And, we've been very blessed that we were able to come back from all this, because it was a really tough time. Yeah. But with perseverance, hard work, it paid off now. And now it's not like we don't have challenges. And I think we were talking off mic before about the challenges of finding workforce, right? So
right, absolutely.
So, and this is something that we still working on. And right now it's incredible because when we interview someone for a position, we will kind of listen to the person and see if he's fit for the company.
Right.
But now it's kind of the opposite. We need to show the person that our company fits their needs. So it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
And it's another challenge that we have.
Yeah.
And as we grow and we acquire more vehicles, we also need to find the right people to work with us. So, you know, it's going to be a challenge, and it's going to, but we know that we're going to succeed at the end.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, Mauricio Trigo, thank you so much for coming in, and really enjoyed hearing your story. It's amazing. I hope the folks out there listening will see that you have implemented the very basic rules of succeeding in the U.S. and not only succeeding, but thriving. So congratulations.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being here.
So that concludes another episode of the Go with John show. Go out there and build something extraordinary, just like Maurice has done.
Thank you.
That was amazing, buddy. Like what you're hearing on the Go with John show? Please share it with your friends. They can sign up at gowithjohn.com.